Hi everyone! It's the month of January 2022. Let's celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King and then the civil rights movement in America. And let's read this book. It's called Pies from Nowhere. How Georgia Gilmore sustained the Montgomery bus boycott. Let's read this book about Georgia Gilmore and then the Montgomery bus boycott. And it's written by D. Romito, illustrated by Laura Freeman. When Georgia Gilmore was a young girl, she lived on a farm in Alabama where she fed the pigs and milked the cows. Georgia did her best to listen to what her mother taught her. Think twice before doing anything you might regret, and never ever hate anyone. Georgia grew up and soon had a family of her own. She did plenty of cooking along the way, and when it was time for something sweet, she knew just what to do. She'd blend butter and sugar in a bowl to get her homemade pound cake started, and then add tea bags to a pot of water for a new batch of sweet tea. That is Georgia Gilmore, and she's really good at cooking. She likes to make cakes and tea and a lot of food. Georgia was a cook at the National Lunch Company in downtown Montgomery, Alabama. Because of segregation laws, the restaurant counter was separated into two sections. One side for white customers, one side for black customers. Georgia knew it was wrong, but that was the way things had always been. So that at that time, when Georgia lived, it was segregation laws. That means white people and colored people cannot be together in the restaurant, in water fountains, in the school, in the parks, anywhere. In the buses. On December 1st, 1955, Georgia was working at the restaurant when a new alert came over the radio. An African American woman named Rosa Parks had been arrested for refusing to give up her seat on a bus to a white passenger. That is Rosa Parks. She was arrested because she refused to give her seat to a white passenger. Rosa was tired of giving in to rules that were unjust, and she wasn't the only one. The next day, the flyer was passed around the black community in Montgomery, asking people to boycott public transportation on Monday. It said, "Please stay off all buses. Please stay off all buses. Please stay off all buses." Georgia watched as buses drove down the street, one after another, empty. So that means a lot of people were participating in the boycott of the public transportation, which were the buses that was run by the city. Because she'd been treated poorly by the dryers so many times before, Georgia hadn't ridden the buses for 2 months. Still, she wanted to be a part of the movement she saw growing. She already didn't take the bus for 2 months, but she wanted to participate into the movement even more, not limited into just boycott the bus. So, not long after, she went to the Hort Street Baptist Church to hear Dr. Martin Luther King speak. The church was full. The crowd overflowed onto the street outside. Large speakers had been set up so everyone could hear. Dr. King spoke about doing good things for one another. He talked about freedom, unity, equality. Freedom, unity, equality. These are the foundation of United States of America, and Dr. Martin Luther King was speaking about it. "We are determined here in Montgomery to work and fight until justice runs down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. This was Dr. Martin Luther King's words. Those were things Georgia believed in. She was willing to fight for them. Georgia also believed in what Dr. Martin Luther King was saying, and then she was ready to fight for the equality, freedom, and unity. Fight for equal rights among all people. So Georgia decided to help the best way she knew how. Can you guess what's the best way? She worked with a group of women, and together they purchased the supplies they needed: bread, lettuce, and chickens. Yes, Georgia started cooking, and then off they went to cook. The women brought food to the meetings that followed at the church. They sold sandwiches. They sold dinners in their neighborhoods. Wow. So the women started cooking because that was what Georgia was doing the best, cooking, right? So they made very good food and they sold in the neighborhood. And I guess this is money they collected because money is so important for movements. As the bus boycotts walked and walked, Georgia cooked and cooked. And boy, did the people of Montgomery love her food. Georgia's group donated the profits from their sales to the Montgomery Improvement Association, which helped fund the boycott. But if anyone had found out these women were involved, they could have lost their jobs. Ooh, so look at this woman. They were cooking, but then they were hiding also because they could lose their jobs. So they do not want people to know that they were cooking for getting money for the boycott. So Georgia ran the operation. She was the face and she ran the operation. And then the other women act as secret helpers. Georgia was the face. She ran the operation. Sure, the way I figured it, people always had to eat, so I made the pies, said Georgia. The women sold baked goods to local stores, groceries, laundromats, and beauty shops, and people paid in cash, so they wouldn't be connected to aiding the boycott. Oh yeah, whoever was buying the food that Georgia made, they also paid in cash, so there's no chase who paid for the food. Because if you pay for the food, that's your money that goes to fund the boycott. So they don't want people to know. Sweet potato pie, peach pie, red velvet cake, 7-Up cake. Only Georgia knew who baked them. And only Georgia knew who bought them. Because Georgia was running it. She was the operator. Every Monday and Thursday, Georgia would go early to the boycott strategy meetings at the church. She'd walk up to the collection plate and announce how much her group was contributing. There was cheering, clapping, foot stomping. People were really happy that there were funds coming in to support the boycott. And Georgia always came every Monday and Thursday. She always had some cash to donate in the church, in the strategy meeting. But wherever people asked where the money came from, she remembered her promise to keep it a secret. It came from nowhere, she'd say. Because of this, her brave group of women bakers became known as the Club from Nowhere. The Club from Nowhere, because the money came from nowhere. I don't know, who knows? It came from nowhere. So the women became the Club from Nowhere. The club not only raised enough to purchase gas for the carpool system that had been set up for the boycott, but they were also able to buy station wagons to aid the effort and help get people where they needed to go. Yeah, if you are boycotting the transportation system, so how do you get to work? You have to have different means of transportation, right? So Georgia's money was helping to buy gas for the cars, and she also add more gas station wagons, big cars, to help people get to where they need to go if they are not taking public transportation. But Montgomery didn't want their buses continuing to lose money, so the city did what it could to stop the protesters and their efforts. Guess what the city did? Dr. King and 89 others were arrested for their roles in the boycott. And Georgia was called to speak in court about an instance when a bus driver had mistreated her. After she had already paid, the driver demanded she get off and enter through the back of the bus. When I reached the back door and was about to get on, he shut the back door and pulled off. And I didn't even ride the bus after paying my fare. So I decided right then and there I wasn't going to ride the buses anymore, Georgia testified. So Georgia appeared in the court to testify what happened to her. It was a very unjust incident that happened while she was taking the bus. She already paid the fare from the front door, and then the bus driver demanded her to get off from the front door and get in from the back door. But when she reached the back door, the driver shut the door of the back door off on her face and pulled off and drove off. So she didn't even get to ride the bus, although she already paid for the fare. So that was a very unjust incident. So Georgia testified in front of everyone in the court. In the same time, Dr. King and 89 others were thrown into jail because of the boycott of the public transportation in Montgomery. Georgia knew she was doing the right thing by standing up for her fellow protesters. But news of the trial spread across the country like wildfire. When the National Lunch Company, that's where Georgia was working, found out she was part of the boycott, she was fired from her job. That was why that all these women who was working to cook, they were anonymously working for Georgia. And now Georgia was found out that she was working for the boycott, so she was fired from her job. Georgia was unemployed and raising 6 children of her own. She needed to find a new way to support her family. Dr. King encouraged her to start her own business. All these years you've worked for somebody else. Now it's time you worked for yourself, he said. He helped her improve the kitchen in her home, and Georgia got new pots and pans and cooking supplies with the help of Dr. King. Word soon got around, and people came to eat at Georgia's. When they came to her house for a meal, they would eat wherever they could find a seat. And if they couldn't find a seat, they'd eat standing up. Georgia loved to talk and joke with her customers and friends. Soon enough, there were long lines to get a meal cooked by her. While her business of cooking from home was really successful. People ordered meals for delivery too. Georgia was making hundreds of lunches each day. She packed up fried chicken, black-eyed peas with okra, fresh corn muffins, and apple pie, and sent her kids out to deliver them. If you were lucky, you might even get her homemade macaroni and cheese. She was providing good food for her community, but she was also bringing the people of Montgomery together, black and white. Dr. King frequently had meals at Georgia's house. Because she was a big woman with a big personality, he lovingly called her Tiny. And because civil rights leaders knew they could trust Georgia, her home became a place for important and often secret meetings. I just served them and let them talk, she'd say. She was saying, okay, I just served them food and let them talk. And then because these leaders of civil rights movement really trusted Georgia, so they had secret meetings in Georgia's home. On November 13th, 1956, Georgia was cooking in her kitchen, listening to music on the radio, when the station interrupted the song to deliver the news. The Supreme Court had declared that segregation on buses was illegal. The boycotts had won. Georgia was thrilled. People could ride the bus and sit anywhere they desired. Wow, they won the case. The boycott protesters, bus boycott protesters, they won the case. The segregation on bus was illegal. Wow, congratulations. Okay, let me flip over this. Okay. At the next church meeting, Georgia sat in her seat and listened as Dr. King announced that the Montgomery bus boycott was a success. "We didn't have to walk no more," said Georgia. "Even before Martin Luther King Jr. got up there and told us it was over, we knew it was over and we knew we had won." Still, there would be more battles to fight. So Georgia Gilmore kept right on cooking. "We demand equal rights now." Yeah, there were more movements coming, so Georgia kept cooking as her way of participating in the movement, the civil rights movement. Very nice book. Pies from Nowhere, the Women's Club of Nowhere. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.